just 1 minute ago? Marty Meierotto's daughter decided she could no longer hold back the shocking truths surrounding the family's long-buried tragedy. The pain had grown too heavy for her to carry alone, and now at last, the young Meierotto had stepped forward to confirm every rumor people had whispered about the family for years. What exactly do you think she revealed to the public? Stay with me as we uncover the truth. And before we continue with this video, please make sure you subscribe and like it if you haven't already. Thank you, and now let's begin. Everything began with the early rumors surrounding Marty Meierotto. Before Marty's departure from public life, he always tried his best to share what was truly unfolding out in the wilderness. People whispered that he had witnessed many frightening things, but he chose to keep those experiences to himself. Recently, however, his beloved daughter confirmed those very rumors. She admitted that everything her father once hinted at was completely true. So now we must explore the deeper question. What exactly did Marty Meierotto share with the world that exposed what was really happening deep inside the wilderness? For many years, Marty Meierotto remained the quiet but legendary figure of Alaska's harsh and mysterious frontier. While many of the other cast members easily captured people's attention and seemed to shine naturally under the spotlight, Marty was the opposite. He stayed far from public view, sometimes so distant that people forgot he was even part of the show. But as he stayed hidden, he was quietly building a massive reputation behind the scene. His craft, his discipline, and his unmatched skill eventually made him known as a master trapper and a survivalist. It didn't take long before he became one of the most respected figures on Mountain Men. Life appeared stable, even perfect until the day of his sudden and unexplained disappearance. Many viewers didn't immediately notice it, but at one point in the show, Marty Meierotto vanished completely. He simply ran off, leaving everyone confused. Nobody knew what had happened to him, and the silence stretched on until the moment he finally returned. His daughter, Noah Meierotto, confirmed it all. According to her, this was one of the darkest seasons in her father's life, a time filled with silence, a time when no one knew what he was facing. Something had happened to Marty, and later, when he finally returned, he revealed deeply shocking details about the events that unfolded during that missing season and explained the reasons behind his withdrawal from public life. Marty had recorded what happened off camera, documenting what he experienced, without understanding that those recordings would become his final message to everyone on the show. His words didn't just shock them, they unsettled investigators and former crew members so deeply that many of them struggled to sleep afterwards. His message planted fear and uncertainty in everyone's heart. Marty Meierotto's warning was painfully clear. The mountains were not the adventurous playground people imagined. They were a place that changed those who entered them, slowly, silently, and profoundly. According to Marty, the mountains could claim a man without warning. People believed the wilderness was beautiful, peaceful, and pure. But Marty insisted. It stripped a man down piece by piece until something changed in his eyes forever. As he spoke about this, it became obvious to everyone that something terrible had happened to him. Many who worked closely with him on the show confirmed it. They noticed the change in him over the past months. He wasn't physically tired, he was restless. He appeared watchful, almost as if he were expecting something to step out from the mountains at any moment. His nerves were frayed. He had heard and seen something out there. Whatever he experienced affected him so deeply that even his journal entries became unsettling. They were filled with strange phrases, listening, waiting. And he wasn't referring to animals. He meant the land itself. What he saw, only Marty knew. His friends and family grew increasingly worried. They watched his fear unfold slowly. He began avoiding certain valleys, saying the wind carried memories there. Noah shared that at one point she saw her father stop setting traps near certain hollow trees, something he once loved doing. He stopped out of fear.at. Marty would whisper to the flames inside his stove, "Fire keeps them slow." And when anyone asked him what that meant, he refused to answer. And instead, with trembling hands and fearful eyes, he would simply close the stove door. At that point, Marty lived like a man who believed he was being followed. His family watched helplessly as he became a shadow of who he once was. Then, he did something that terrified them even more. For years, Marty kept detailed logbooks records he cherished deeply. But one day, without warning, he burned them. Every page, years of memories, years of adventures gone. As the flames rose, he warned, "Tracks on paper lead things straight to you." Then he vanished again. The cabin went cold, mail piled up, social media went silent. Marty left everyone behind, and his family longed for him. After some time passed, they searched his cabin for clues. Hidden among the wood, they found a chilling message carved by hand. "I heard it call my name. Twice is too many. Don't follow. Where snow falls uphill." As investigators pieced together his final notes, it became clear that Marty's disappearance was not an act of fear, it was a lesson, a demonstration of how someone truly disappears from the world. In his writings, he described the wilderness as a place where time folds over itself, where your footsteps echo even when no second pair of boots walks behind you. To Marty, the silence of the wilderness was layered, deep, alive. It pulled men into its depths, listening to them, watching them. He wrote of nights when snowflakes drifted sideways with no wind, nights when footsteps followed him across untouched snow, nights when echoes returned with no distortion, as if the forest itself was imitating his voice. Strange markings appeared on trees, triangles, punctures, symbols pointing downhill into valleys he refused to name. Once, he pressed his ear to a punctured tree and felt the bark vibrate, like something breathing just behind a closed door. He found circles of trees with paired punctures and moss, shaped like elongated footprints. His missing traps were reset perfectly smooth, as though someone or something was watching how far he would track the distance. His tally stones disappeared in exact sequence, and once he woke to find a freezing stone placed directly on his chest, he discovered a clearing filled with ancient iron traps and antler-shaped chairs arranged in a perfect circle, each chair facing the center, as if waiting for judgment. One night, those traps snapped shut in perfect sequence. When he returned, new notches had been carved into the antler seats. Marty whispered, "It's not a trap for animals. It's a witness stand." In one rare interview, he stated plainly, "We are not the top of the food chain out there. We are the crop." He spoke of a presence and intelligence in the wood that thinned the herd, erased tracks, and mimicked voices. When mountain men stopped fearing the woods, he said, "The woods come looking." After Marty left, search registries showed a sudden spike in missing hunters, experienced, solitary men. One case reported circles burned into the snow with no footprints inside. Marty's warning echoed through all of them. He was right. The mountain doesn't lose people. The mountain calls them. And now, the mountain has finally called Marty Meierotto in, before he disappeared for good. Rumors spread about him leaving the show. Although mountain men looked exciting on camera, the truth behind the scenes was far more complicated. In Season 8, viewers sensed he was planning to quit, and many were shocked. They didn't know the wilderness had already begun whispering to him. For 8 seasons, fans watched him brave the Alaskan wilderness, surviving sub-zero winters in a tiny one-room cabin. But behind that strength was a man slowly being changed by something deep in the mountains, something he could no longer outrun. Although people overlooked Marty at first, they have now come to truly love and adore him. In those fleeting daylight hours out in the wilderness, he would carefully set up his trapline, a long tradition that caught everything from lynx to mink to marten. Over time, this became part of his identity. What surprised everyone about Marty's departure was that he never showed any signs of leaving at the beginning. He was as much a part of the series as the other men who shared their outdoor skills, survival instincts, and deep respect for nature with viewers. In an earlier season of Mountain Men, he even shared a heartfelt line, "This is my church. This is where I feel most like me." This simple statement became Marty's slogan before he made the unexpected decision to leave the show. Naturally, fans began to wonder what could have happened to him to change his mind so drastically. Later on, it was revealed that Marty's departure might have been influenced by Tom Moore's decision to leave. Tom Moore was the first original cast member to walk away from the show during that season. Before Marty ever revealed his own plans to leave, Tom had already announced that he was retiring and moving from Montana to Florida. News he shared with fans who admired him deeply. This made many viewers question whether Tom Moore's exit could have influenced Marty so much that he, too, chose to step away. To get answers, people naturally turned to Tom or himself. Tom Moore, a legendary man on the show, shocked everyone when he finally made the decision to leave. People respected Tom a great deal, so his announcement felt unusual and unexpected. But he had personal reasons that made sense to him. For the 81-year-old icon, this particular season seemed to mark a point where he had to choose whether to continue or finally hand off the torch. The network even released a statement saying that legacies hung in the balance as each mountain man confronted a defining crossroads. When the channel released those words, fans were stunned. Tom Moore had been on the reality series since its 2012 premiere, and he was such an essential part of the show that many believed he would never leave at all. The show had always explored the inspiring lives of people who traded the comforts of the modern world for the challenges and beauty of living off the grid. Watching Tom Moore and others live this lifestyle with such honesty made people admire them endlessly. But all of that began to change when Tom hinted at his exit by saying, "It's hard to quit anything that you really like to do." Although he never gave a detailed reason for leaving, his departure opened the door for an entirely new cast of survivalists who would make their debut that season. Newcomers Chance and Soraya Painter, both 28 and raising 2 young children, began carving out a homestead in the remote Alaskan bush country. The season's description explained that, as they faced unpredictable terrain and daily survival challenges, seasoned legends like Marty Meierotto and Mike Horseman continued their tireless fight against the elements, refusing to let go of the rugged independence they had spent their lives building. According to the press release, The season premiere would show Marty guiding his daughter Noah through her first bush plane landing at a remote caribou camp. Meanwhile, Mike hauled a massive 50-foot gangway across both land and sea to reach his Kodiak homestead. Brett Bone and Ivy Ogun would be shown fending off a hungry brown bear raiding their salmon nets, while Lauro and Neil used an age-old technique to hunt moose by boat on an isolated river. Chance and Sarai would insulate their log cabin using sod and moss gathered from the surrounding forest. Trouble began when silent rumors started spreading about Marty Meierotto and Tom Orr. Some claimed that Tom's disappearance from the show would push Marty into the limelight, making it seem like he was an underground dog who could now take the front row because his master was no longer around. As these whispers circulated, Marty began developing issues with the show, although he didn't make his discomfort obvious. The rumors grew louder, and Marty became more and more uncomfortable being in that environment. Not long after Tom Orr disappeared from the show, Marty announced his own departure. On camera, Marty explained that he no longer wanted to be followed by cameras in the bush. He was tired of the fame and wanted to enjoy private moments with his 13-year-old daughter Noah, who would be helping him run the trap line that winter. I thought a lot about it, and that's the decision I made, he shared. It's going to be the best for her and family time and all that. Marty continued by saying, I've been doing this my whole life, and for the past 8 years. I've had a camera on me all the time. I'm glad we got to tell a story, and I hope it's helped people understand what it's really like out here. He added one final reflection. At the end of the day, I'm just a trapper. If you're lying on your deathbed, you're not going to be thinking about how much money you made or some job you had. You're going to be thinking about what you've done with your life. These thoughts weighed heavily on him and ultimately pushed him to leave the show entirely. What he didn't expect, however, was just how deeply people would mourn his departure, according to many reports. Marty not only made an impact on the show, but he also deeply influenced countless people outside of it. One journalist even attested to this. When this journalist joined Marty on his trap line to record a story, he had no idea how many dangers were hidden in the remote wilderness. During their time together, the two of them were nearly speared thanks to field and stream writer Bill Havey, who had lost control of his snow machine. Reflecting on the terrifying experience, Bill shared, I've been riding for 4 hours now. As a novice, I had no idea how physically demanding it is in this kind of country. You ride standing up, the better to react to hidden bumps and holes. He eventually became lost, but managed to start a fire, which ultimately helped Marty locate him in the vast, snowy landscape. This experience convinced Bill that not just anyone could survive the Alaskan wilderness. It was dangerous, unforgiving, and mentally exhausting. During all this, Marty's wife Dominique also played a crucial role in Bill's survival. Before the men ever left the cabin, she had warned him, never leave the cabin without a lighter and some paper in your pocket. You got that? Her simple but wise advice ended up saving him. Many others shared similar stories about how Marty had helped and supported them over the years. His daughter Noah also revealed that despite Marty's decision to leave the show, everyone knew he had a soft and sweet side. But life, as always, had other plans for him. Marty wasn't the only person who suffered. Other cast members also carried deep scars. One of the biggest tragedies hit when Preston Roberts, a close friend of Marty Meierotto, passed away. They shared a lot together and created many joyful memories. But when tragedy struck, it shook everyone, especially Eustace Conway and Marty, who had been extremely close to him. After Preston died, Eustace shared on his Facebook page that Preston had passed away due to complications from an inoperable liver tumor. No one knew he had been battling an illness. On camera, he always looked cheerful, smiling through the pain, but deep down, he had been suffering. Eustace was completely heartbroken. Preston wasn't just a friend, he had been Eustace's right-hand man for several years, as they worked together on Turtle Island. They had built the preserve on a 1,000-acre site, turning it into a vibrant outdoor education camp for over 30 years. Over time, the friendship extended to Marty too. Losing Preston was unbearable for both men. On his page, Eustace wrote, "Please be sensitive to that fact while we all work through this painful transition. In the wake of this unexpected tragedy, hundreds of bereaved among his Turtle Island family will gather soon to celebrate the legacy of a life lost too soon. The loss and sadness we feel are indescribable. The loss of a friend and colleague shook Marty to the core, forcing him to face the painful reality that life is fleeting, and that everyone has only a limited time on Earth. His friend's death strengthened his resolve to step away from the show entirely. While he was still contemplating this sudden twist in his life, Eustace found himself plunging into big trouble with the authorities, forcing him into a direct battle with the law. Let's take a closer look at how everything unfolded. It all began one quiet afternoon. Eustace Conway was at home, relaxing, and enjoying the simple comforts of his own space when something shocking happened. He was suddenly arrested. No one, not even those close to him, ever saw that coming. His arrest came after he was served a warrant for second-degree trespassing on a neighbor's land in the Triplet community of Watauga County, a place he had lived near for years. The news of Eustace's arrest sent waves of surprise through everyone who knew him. Marty, one of his closest friends, was especially shaken, still mourning the loss of another friend. He now had to face this unexpected crisis as well. According to court records, the trespassing complaint came from Margaret A. Palms, who lived at 2473 Little Laurel Road. What shocked many people even more was that Margaret and Eustace had once been close friends. Their bond had seemed strong. But over the years, something invisible and unexplained had driven them apart, turning them from friends into enemies for reasons no one fully understood. Once the warrant was issued, Watauga County Sheriff's Deputy S. Morrison served it to Conway, who was then taken before the Watauga County Magistrate. Court records stated that Eustace had unlawfully and willfully entered Margaret's property after being notified not to enter or remain on her land. Margaret insisted in court that this was not the first time it had happened. She explained that Eustace once tied her gates shut so she and her family couldn't get out. She described how he put posters all over her gates, mailboxes, and fences, and even placed big wooden barriers to block them in. In her words, he just kind of went nuts. She also told the court that Eustace's actions made it difficult for her to drive off her property. Because Eustace's Turtle Island preserve had only one way in and out, tensions were already high. The preserve itself covered a 1,000-acre primitive living site and educational camp that had been around for 26 years, though it had recently closed to the public. All these factors contributed to what would soon turn into a full-blown war between the two neighbors. Margaret, an attorney and real estate agent in Boone, was determined not to lose anything she believed belonged to her. She took a firm stand to protect her property line. He comes trespassing from time to time and we've asked him not to. He's threatening us, she said. I just want him to stay away from our property. After all the back-and-forth arguments, many people wanted to hear Eustace's side of the story, but he refused to give any official statement, but later claiming his lawyer advised him not to comment to the press regarding the trespassing charge. Eventually, the case reached a conclusion when the judge instructed Eustace to provide a written promise to appear in court on a set date. His release document from the courthouse even included the warning, "Do not threaten or bully Margaret." Whether Eustace would obey that instruction became a question many people wondered about. Unfortunately for Eustace, this case opened the door to even more legal trouble, particularly involving Turtle Island Preserve. The preserve soon became the center of an investigation. It all started with a complaint about a illegal building. When officials from the Watauga County Planning and Inspection Department received the complaint, they acted quickly. They raided Turtle Island and discovered dozens of structures that had been built without any permits. As they inspected the preserve even further, they uncovered a long list of violations. Eustace had broken numerous health and safety codes, which made his situation even worse. The county attorney responded by giving him 3 options. Bring the buildings up to minimum state standards, have a professional certify that they already met code, obtain proper permits, or tear the buildings down completely. Eustace was furious. When he heard these demands, he refused to yield. That moment marked the beginning of the real battle, a fight that many described as far deeper than just legal technicalities. To some it was a war between the natural world and modern reality, between primitive living and government regulation. County Planning Director Joe Furman eventually got involved. Furman explained that everything began in late spring after an anonymous phone call reported problems at the preserve. A week later, the office received an unmarked envelope containing a crudely drawn but surprisingly detailed color-coded map. The map outlined buildings, roadwork, wiring, and other features allegedly done without permits, engineering oversight, or official inspections. Unlike other stars of mountain men, many of whom live high in the Rockies or deep in the Alaskan wilderness, Eustace lived differently. He stayed far from city life and used that isolation to build Turtle Island Preserve. The preserve sits near the Tennessee border. A few miles east of Boone, it was large enough to serve a county seat of 17,000 residents. And because of its size and popularity, Eustace was generating real income from it. Its location also played a major role in its appeal. Nestled just beyond a gravel road, Turtle Island offered an escape into nature. After crossing a dancing stream, visitors were greeted by a meadow, surrounded by a blacksmith shop, an open kitchen, a dining room, a corn crib, and various outbuildings. Even the name Turtle Island came from a Native American creation myth about a giant turtle that saved the world's creatures by carrying them on its shell during a catastrophic flood. Symbolically, Conway's website claimed, "We are an island of wilderness, in a sea of development and destruction." But not everyone agreed. Local officials believed the situation was more complicated. After a thorough inspection, Furman tried reaching out to Eustace, but their discussions went nowhere. Eustace insisted nothing was wrong with his buildings. As a result, Furman and his team returned with a warrant and sheriff's deputies. Their search revealed even more issues. Not only was the preserve out of compliance, but Eustace's own home also failed to meet standards. Water and sewer connections were minimal. All the buildings had been constructed using wood milled on site, not the graded lumber required by code. Solar panels powered equipment in his tiny office, and a micro-hydroelectric plant built by students from ASU's Appropriate Technology program powered a small workshop. Inspectors found that the wiring and junction boxes didn't meet code. They also found a wood stove with a chimney vented under a metal roof instead of through it. And many buildings weren't properly connected to their stone foundations. To make matters even worse, a consultant who examined the buildings concluded that many were not structurally sound and posed safety hazards. He wrote, "The property in its present state presents a hazard to the safety of anyone near any of the structures. I would suggest obtaining a court order to vacate the property to protect the lives of the public and the interns." This report enraged Eustace's supporters. They argued that officials were missing the point entirely. Eustace insisted that everything he did aligned with primitive living. "How can I teach primitive living in modern cookie-cutter structures?" he argued. "Human beings have built their own houses for thousands and thousands and actually millions of years. And now we can't even build our own house with our own material that grows on our own land. That's not some regulation, that's just a county problem. That's a human rights issue." Studi knew that if he wanted to fight the government, he needed solid legal backing. Kelly, one of his team members, said that most of the buildings were constructed at the bare minimum of what regular houses required, but they weren't modern structures, so they couldn't fit modern codes. Eustace also expressed doubt that any complaint had ever existed in the first place. He believed officials may have lied. From the very beginning of the show, he had experienced tension with the planning department, and he suspected someone had been targeting him from the start. His suspicions grew even stronger when recalling Season 1, Episode 2, titled Mayhem. In that episode, Eustace received an odd mailbox containing an official-looking letter. He opened it with his pocket knife and found a motion to claim exempt property. Shocked, he read from the document, "This is crazy. This damn attorney is paying the sheriff to serve me. Go and take all my land?" Basically, I just got a letter saying, "Your life is over." Even the show's narrator hinted that the government was coming after Turtle Island Preserve. The commentary emphasized that while Eustace had always survived off his land, he constantly struggled to pay the taxman. Over the rest of the season, he and his team worked tirelessly to pay off the lien. He refused to lose his land, not to the government. Watching Eustace endure so many battles deeply affected Marty Meierotto. The constant stress and daily fights eventually pushed him to walk away from it all. When Noah spoke about her father, she revealed that he carried more sorrow than most people knew, even though he tried to hide it. The weight of all these struggles stayed with him until the very end.